Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the SH Figuarts Age of Ultron Black Widow figure. And I have to say, this one, when they first showed it, I thought it didn't look very good. There were some things that really bothered me about it, and luckily, at least some of those things got changed or are better than I thought they were going to be here on the final release. So that's a good thing. There are some gripes to be had with this figure. Some people don't like some things about it, and those are justified things. And we're going to talk about all of it once we get into the review. So let's go ahead and get it off the stand and take a closer look. This figure stands just about 15.5 centimeters, pretty close to that, and that makes it just about 6 inches, really right around there. Good enough for an estimation. And I have to say, it looks pretty good. The paint job on this thing is nice. You have the kind of a flat gray with the semi-shiny satiny black with the blue and the red and the silver, and it's all clean enough. It looks pretty nice. I think it's more than acceptable. I'm glad that they did that. They could have easily skimped out on some of those details, and they didn't. So that's nice. We do have the metallic hair, which generally speaking, I'm not a big fan of. I think it works better for this figure than most. Maybe because it's a woman and her hair should be like noticeably shiny as far as Pantene Pro V is concerned. And so I think it looks okay. When they did it for Luke Skywalker, I thought it looked a little weird. I don't know, it looks better on this one. I guess some people might not like it, some may, so that's going to be kind of a subjective thing. But there is shading throughout, so that does help it to look pretty good. Now, the last thing we need to talk about in terms of paint is the face and the chest. They're a different color. The chest is painted this really horrible skin tone, and it's very, very not good. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it's really not good. And the face, the entire face is that dot matrix technology that they've been using, and I have to say, it looks way better than it did in the early pictures. Even on the box, if you look at the face, it doesn't look great. It doesn't look bad, but it doesn't look great. But on the figure, I think it looks pretty darn good. It's instantly recognizable as Scarlet Johansson, if you ask me. I think it looks pretty nice. Especially at this scale, you can't really beat it. Now, if you do get too close, you'll see the dots. That's the one drawback of this technology, but it does afford a very nice face paint job. You can even see this kind of like little pouty lip thing, that little mark right there that she has where her lips are a little thicker right there. It looks good, and it's there, so I like that a whole bunch. But that chest is just painted weird. It's not even the same color as the neck. The neck is closer to the face, and the chest is weird. Oh well. Okay, let's talk accessories. We'll come back to the figure. We have 2 guns, 2 batons, and then a total of 10 hands. We have the 2 fist hands that come on her in the package, the 2 baton gripping hands, the 2 gun gripping hands, 2 kind of neutral hands, and then 2 style pose hands or action pose hands, whatever you want to call them. So plenty of options, and I think that's pretty good. As far as the articulation on this figure goes, it's not bad. There are some serious issues, but those are almost borderline sculpt issues. But I think it really does boil down to articulation, so we'll talk about all that all in one segment right here. So the head itself is on a ball hinge. You can't just lean it to the side without kind of maneuvering that joint around. It just doesn't want to do it. Unless, see, I can't, at first I thought it was just a double ball peg because you can move the head a little bit, but then you can't move it that much, so I'm thinking it's a ball hinge with a ball peg on top. Either way, you'll be able to move the head however you want to. It's just going to take some finagling. The neck feels like it's on a single ball peg, but it's really hard to actually get it to move, so you don't really have to worry about that too much. I think they probably would have been better off just making it a solid neck going all the way down to the chest so you didn't have that seam in there, but it's not terrible. For the arms, we have a ball peg with basically just a big cap over it. I thought at first it was a butterfly, but then you can move it up and down also, and it doesn't feel like it's actually hinged anywhere in there, so I don't know. It's a little bit of a weird design the way they did it, but you can get the arms out almost horizontally, and then essentially the shoulder is just a ball hinge that you can rotate all the way around. It does throw it off at a bit of an angle in some cases, but you should be able to account for it and be okay. You have your bicep swivel built into the shoulder, which is not the best design, but it's good enough. Her engineering is just not great in most cases. And in some cases, it's pretty bad. We have a single jointed elbow, which does give her better than 90 degrees, so that's okay. But the way they put the shoulder or the elbow pad on the back of the arm right there and it just sticks off doesn't make any sense. They should have given her a double jointed elbow and put the shoulder, I keep saying shoulder pad, put the elbow pad on the joint. It would have looked way better and it would have been more functional. So I don't know why they did that. Now we have this weird little cliff on her arm. Doesn't make any sense. For the torso, for the upper torso, we have at least a single peg. It might be a double. It's kind of hard to say without pulling it apart, but you get really good range. It can lean to the side, no problem at all. It can lean back a little bit. It can lean forward a little bit. And then, of course, it can rotate. It doesn't rotate all that much. For the lower torso, we have a single ball peg, which has pretty good side-to-side range. Really good, in fact. Leans back a little bit and forward a little bit. So put them both together, and you only get that much leaning forward and that much leaning back, which it's not bad. That's okay. And then you can rotate a little bit at the hips. So altogether, you can only rotate her about, I don't know, maybe 40 degrees off center, which it's not a lot. Definitely could be better there. For the hips, we have our standard hinged ball pegs, so you can pop them down if you want a little extra range and then bring the legs forward. And that does afford you a little bit better than 90 degrees, so that's good. It's going to ruin the sculpt of the butt just a little bit. That's going to happen when you have articulation like that, though, so I think that's okay. And the hips can go fairly far out to the side, better than most figures can these days. It's not a complete split, but she can pretty much do the splits, so you shouldn't have too much trouble posing her dynamically. And then you do have a thigh swivel in there. It's just pretty minimal. It's not great. Now here's something that does bother me significantly. This right here is a gun holster, but it's just a solid chunk of plastic. I don't know why they did that. They could have made it slightly oversized so that it could actually afford the ability to hold the gun, but they didn't. So that's not very good at all. And I don't think she's supposed to have another gun holster, but I don't remember. I assume she is because she always uses two guns, but maybe, in Ultron, maybe she didn't use the guns. Did she? I don't remember. Anyway, you only get this holster and it doesn't work, so that's kind of a bummer. For the knees, this is one of the big issues. It's like the elbows, only way worse. Her knee pads are those blue things. That's where her knees would be. The hinge comes down below the knee, which not only is terrible for the knee bend because it's way too low, but it leaves the knee pad up on the thigh. So that looks really weird. And then you get this giant knee hinge showing right here. And when it's not in use, what the heck is that? What were they thinking? Why is that there? That is the worst design I think I've ever seen. Because they went out of their way to do that. And it's terrible. That is really bad. That's really, really bad. It's a terrible knee joint. Does give her good range, but everything else is crap on there. So that's a big bummer. All they had to do was put a standard single hinge behind that knee pad and it would have worked fine. Or, like I said for the elbows, done a double hinge and put the pad actually on the hinge. Would have been fine. Would have been easy. They didn't do that. I don't know why. For the ankles, we have a pretty standard ankle rocker, so you can have pretty good range going forward and back. You can rotate it around to give yourself an ankle. I said ankle rocker already, didn't I? Guys, I'm losing my mind here. Standard ankle hinge. It gives you an ankle rocker if you want to use it. I'm going crazy. You can see what I'm talking about, though, if I'm using the wrong words. And then we have a toe hinge, which is a little strange, but it's functional. It's not super floppy or anything, and if you wanted to use it, you really could. But it's just a little odd that it's on there because she's already got these weird shoes on. So ultimately, how is the figure? Well, I don't know. It's got some good things. Like I said, the paint works pretty nice other than the chest. The face looks good. The hair's not bad. She's got decent accessories. She's got weird articulation. And it's not so weird to the point that it kills the figure, but it's definitely to the point where it's like, what the heck? Especially for being an exclusive where it costs a little bit more. Why'd they do that? I can't say I approve it at all 100%. I am going to say if you're collecting these things, you might want to pick it up, but it's definitely going to be a subjective thing. It's not a guaranteed, yes, you're going to like it type of deal. Plus, her chest is sculpted weird. That cleavage does not look right. I don't know who sculpted this, but they don't know how to do knees or cleavage. They're both very weird, or elbows for that matter. So definitely could be better. I think it's good enough. It's not terrible, but it's not going to make you excited probably unless you're a little bit weird. So there you go. Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. I have new videos up every single day. Talk about action figures, movies, TV shows, video games, all kinds of fun stuff. So make sure you come back for that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.